Hey, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on wherever you are in this world. Thank you so much for joining me today for our virtual event on the topic of women on the web. That is to how to utilize social media to achieve success and build your brand. So my name is Sarang Shaikh, and today's presentation is the sixth installment in a series of live virtual sessions for the 2018 IEEE Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference. So this virtual track is brought to you by our sponsor Ericsson, and the entire series of events is taking place on Wednesdays. So this is the reason we have branded the series We Wednesday. By the way, we have a hashtag. This is hashtag WIE Wednesday. So in order to participate in today's session or ask a question of myself or our fabulous guest speakers, please join the conversation on Twitter, on YouTube live chat. Just send your question using the hashtag. That is hashtag WIE Wednesday, or you can follow us on the Twitter. That is at the rate V. That is WIEILC, and we'll get to you, as soon as we can, to the end of the session as possible. So, beginning with, I will introduce myself a bit more, what I do and what I am. So, you already know me. My name is Sarang Sheikh, and I have a telecommunication engineering degree. This is how I got to know about IEEE. And, I recently, I just joined a new startup that is a US based called Culture Cloud. And I'm doing a product engineering there. So, what we do is we have the social media platform. We have developed an algorithm where we connect people based on their mutual interests, and passions and likes. Besides, I'm pursuing my MBA in Innovation Entrepreneurship. I'm currently based in the Karachi, Pakistan, and I'm also I've also authored a book called Inspire Your Motivations, and I urge you to go to Amazon and order my book and read it and get some inspiration from that. I will next up invite my colleagues, first of all, Ramla, to please introduce yourself. Ramla, would you please introduce yourself to the participants?
Hi everyone, my name is Ramla Qureshi. I am a structural and earthquake engineer by profession, and I also run an organization called Women Engineers Pakistan. As the name suggests, we are trying to get more women to participate in STEM fields back in Pakistan, where the gender gap is currently second lowest in the world. But we have high hopes because we have extremely talented women. We start all the way from high school to actual women working in the field. So it's a very broad spectrum of activities that we do to engage and advocate for women present in technology. And I believe that speaking here at VILC virtual track is one of the best ways to actually advocate and mention all the efforts we're doing and all the ways we take inspiration from the rest of the world, and the efforts that we're making to come at par with everybody else as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Ramla. May I request my another colleague of the virtual session, Hannah, to please go on and introduce yourself to all the participants.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Schaapkens, and I'm an electrical engineer at Fluor Corporation. I currently work out of our Farnborough, UK office in oil and gas. I also help run all of our outreach activities, both charity and school-based. So I run a lot of activities to try and convince more children to study engineering and look into other STEM careers. This includes the creation of our Girls into STEM event with our local education to business coordinator, Jane Sheridan. She came up with the idea, and we basically run a whole day event where we invite all of the local girls in schools to come and check out engineering, which has actually had quite a good success rate. So we're really excited about that. And then outside of my own time, I also am a mental health advocate. So I run my own Instagram page sharing my story and the problems I go through and how I deal with them on an everyday basis. So I'm really excited to join you all, and I look forward to the rest of the conversation.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you so much, Ramla. By the way, not just me, but three of us would like to again thank the guy who's behind the scene, David, who's in IEEE staff, and he's the one who put all this show to you. So we'll begin the conversation, and the format of the talk is we're gonna discuss some of the topics that relate to the topic women on the web, and this again, you can participate within the chat, within the talk, by posting your question, your comments, your ideas on, again, using hashtag WeWednesday, that is again WIE, or you can post a question on Twitter, and that will help us to get to see your questions at the end of the session, when we will have 15 minutes to answer your questions. So beginning with, I will bring in the first question to brainstorm on that, and that is, let's begin with the easiest one. So growing up, when was the first time you accessed the internet? And do you know any people that you follow or you admire on social media in STEM areas? Since there's a notion of ladies being first, so I will be the last one to speak, and I will let my two colleagues to speak before me. So I will request Ramla, if you can tell us something about how when was the time did you access internet for the first time?
I got my first computer system when I was 12 years old. That was the first time I actually accessed the internet. This is back in the day when we used to have dial-up connections, which were landline based and would take forever to connect and had really creepy sounds coming from the system while you waited. But just the aspect of getting on board on the internet and being able to tap into all those resources, trying to learn all the different communities that had started, all the different websites. Google, for example, was such a big knowledge base for anybody who's a kid and tries to get any data, any information about absolutely anything. I remember being wowed by the internet because for me, just even searching for online games to play was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Sarang, for the question.
Yeah, that's great. Can I ask Hannah to please share any story, or tell us a time when did you access internet for the first time, and how was the experience for you?
So I don't actually remember having a time where I didn't have access to a computer. I'm still in my early 20s, so I've always imagined having one, but I do remember the dial-in startup. I do remember having to set it up and then walk away and make a sandwich or something because it was going to take a while to connect. But I don't think I really got into the internet and using it to learn more and to connect more with people until I was about 16, 17. So close to 10 years ago, when I started using more social media platforms and, connecting with people online rather than in person, because the dial-up connection made it far too difficult to really be able to do that. But computers and the internet in general are actually how I got into engineering in the first place. I really, it amazes me that something that's essentially made from reformed earth, if you look at the parts of a computer, it's just plastic and metal, but it won't do anything until you run electricity through it. And then it can communicate in real time with another lump of plastic and metal on the other side of the world. And that's what just really encouraged me to get into engineering in the first place. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, my story of when I accessed internet for the first time is pretty much funny. So since my childhood, I was always a big fan of video games, and this is why I got these glasses. Since I'm a kid, for so long time. And in Pakistan, in my neighborhood, there used to be a video game store, and we used to go there and with our little pocket money that we had, we used to play video games. And there was a time when the not just internet but the computers came to Pakistan, and it was pretty much a new thing and an innovative thing. So if you had a computer back in, let's say, 99, 98, and in Pakistan, you were the coolest guy. Your dad was the coolest one. And so my father, he went to UAE and he brought me a computer. And for first, I didn't know how to play, and my real motivation to use the computer was video games. This was the the primary activity that I wanted to do on computers. My father wanted me to study computers and go beyond the video game culture, do some real work, some technology stuff. But I was totally, I must say, rigid. I was totally into video games. And gradually, this is how I developed an interest into engineering. And so when I grew up and when I was in my high school, and this is the time when you decide which part, which kind of career do you want to pursue. And it was sure for me that I'm going to pursue my career as an engineering one. But which one, that was pretty much hard for me. And so one day, I thought, is there any degree program like video game engineering or something like that? So this will be like, I'll be spending my 4 years of engineering just enjoying the video games. Sadly, in Pakistan, we don't have any program on the video game engineering. There are some courses on that. But again, this is how I got into telecommunications, engineering. But again, my interest of video games, it never stopped. Even till now, I used to play so many video games. But this is how I got into, the video game culture. By the way, Ramla and Hannah, do you know any people that you follow or admire on social media in STEM areas? And I think I should go first, maybe this time, if you let me. For me, generally, someone from Pakistan, as a common guy, if you ask him or her, who is the most techiest guy you have ever seen in the world, or who's the ideal for you, they will say Bill Gates or they will say Steve Jobs. These are the two most common answers that you always get. And for sure, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. But in terms of women, so when I was in my telecommunication engineering degree, I was studying the courses on networking, and so we had some routing protocols to study, and we got to know that there is one routing protocol called STP, which I forgot the acronym, but I remember the name of the woman. I guess Radia Perlman. Radia Perlman is also termed as the mother of the internet, because she founded some of the routing protocols that big companies, maybe Cisco or something like that, they use those, to power the internet. And since I studied some history, so I got to know that, back, let's say in 17th or 18th century, I'm not sure, there used to be a lady in the kingdom of UK called Ada Lovelace, or maybe Anna Lovelace, who was perhaps the first computer programmer. And as soon as I got to know her, I was like, pretty much interested into, how did she do the programming back in 17th or 18th century? That was like, way beyond my head. And this intrigued me into understanding that, even women can do wonders in the tag. But by the way, for the recent times, there's one woman that I particularly really admire, not just admire, but I particularly follow. And there's one of my wishes to meet her in person is Reshma Sojani. She's an Indian origin American, and she's the founder of Girls Who Code. And I just saw that she has developed a community of 90,000 women who learn coding and programming through her initiative. This is totally impressive to me. Uh, I will request, let's say, Hannah to tell any woman in the STEM areas that you follow, you admire, you want to tell to participants.
So there's quite a few women that I follow on social media, and quite a lot of big names, especially here in the UK. But I think some of my favorite people to follow are people I meet at events. So there was one lady I met called Bernadette Ballantyne, who I met at an unconscious bias training event between engineering companies. And she was there solely to be kind of like the journalist for the event. So she writes it up and posts it online so other people can hear about it. But she does this for loads of events. So she goes around and writes them all up, and she posts loads of comments on Twitter, and like loads of links to articles that she's reading that are interesting. And it's people like this that I really, really love to follow, because they have so much information that they want to share with you. And it's also a passion of theirs. Like, they wouldn't spend this much time sharing it on their social media if it didn't really matter to them. So I really love following people like that. And I would highly encourage, if you're ever at an event, to find the person who's doing the write-up and follow them on social media. But also, there was one lady who was put forward for one of our IET awards here, Yuande Akenda, and she did this Twitter run where she had a week to try and find 100 female engineers, and she's made a Twitter list. So, I mean, anyone can contact me afterwards and I can send you that list, but there are some really great women on that list that are well worth a follow.
Sure. Ramla, do you have to speak something on that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, growing up, we heard big names like Marissa Myers, Sheryl Sandberg, of course, Melinda Gates. Obviously, these are women who I grew up looking up to, admiring them from a distance. And then I had the chance to meet Randy Zuckerberg, and I was just blown away at the level of humbleness that woman had after having achieved so much. And that's when I realized that these are actually the people who are moving the world forward. These are the women who are so crucial to our everyday lives. And then, of course, you mentioned Reshma Sajani, one of my huge role models, especially in starting Women Engineers Pakistan. I try to follow her models in there because, sure, I have to figure things out based on how Pakistani society works. But there's a lot of actual initiatives that we can model back there as well. So Reshma is one of my big role models. But then there are obviously few names in Pakistan which really blow the socks off of people. Names like Faiza Yusuf. She started actually started a Facebook community called Women in Tech PK, and this is one of the that's our den. That's where we gather together and discuss about what new initiatives are coming, what job processes are better. It's actually an awesome community to interact with because everybody is there. Everybody has a shared common denominator interest in technology. And then obviously people like Maria Marshad, working with Google Business, but also running their own businesses, running their own startups. Absolutely wonderful, amazing people to follow online.
Thank you, Ramla. By the way, when you meet Reshma next time, tell her you have got a fan in Pakistan. I'm a big fan for her work. So, yeah, it was such a good to discuss this topic with you guys. By the way, Ramla and Hannah, do you have any personal stories on how women, generally can use the internet or web, social media to brand themselves or their organization? Ramla, what do you want to go first, maybe?
Absolutely. So I mentioned that I met Rani Zuckerberg, but the reason I was actually jumping up and down when I met her was because I started Women Engineers Pakistan as just a Facebook page. It was nothing more than that. It was a Facebook page that I had started thinking I'll try to meet like-minded people and start a conversation around it. I didn't realize that the why behind that Facebook page aligned with so many other women that within weeks we had amazing traction, to the point that we had the US Embassy contacting us, we had a British Council contacting us, and it was just so overwhelming how Facebook, how social media in general can really uplift you from thinking that you don't have that much access to giving you absolute global access. So yeah, I myself will present myself as an example of a woman who started a brand from social media, which is now spread all over Pakistan. We function at around 13 to 14 universities across Pakistan, spreading out to about 3,000 women per year. And all of that just started by a mere Facebook page. Other than that, there's an organization called Schaapkens from Pakistan. It got a huge shout out at the Facebook F8 a couple of weeks back. The lady who founded it actually started with Facebook as well. Facebook communities, Facebook groups of women, soul sisters, etc. And that's how the entire startup is now flourishing in Pakistan. Absolutely wonderful examples of how the ecosystem is developing and how social media is so integral for women back there.
It's wonderful to know that. Hannah, would you like to comment any story or any comment on how women can use the internet or web to develop their personality on web?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that was a great story, Ramla. I wish I could say I've done something like that, but I haven't. I use social media a lot for my own learning, and I'm still a graduate. I'm still classed as a graduate at my company. I only graduated, I think I'm coming up to the 4-year mark now. So I use it a lot to connect with people like you guys that I'm speaking to now, to learn more and help at least build my brand within my company, and learn how I can share my knowledge on engineering with other people. So like this Girls Enter STEM Day event we run, and other school events we run, social media is one of the first places I go to try and find inspiration for fun events we can do, find out what other people have done. And whenever I have done it, I try and get pictures and then share it back with the person that gave me the idea in the first place, to kind of show also that what they're putting out there is helping others, and that it's worth doing. I think it's really important that people share their stories, especially with women in engineering, and and just show people that it is normal and fine, and there's no reason that women should be involved.
Absolutely. By the way, guys, before we go, into more discussion, let me remind you again. You can participate in the conversation by sending us a tweet that is on #we Wednesday. This WIE Wednesday. You can even tell us, when was the first time you accessed internet? How was it like? Any personal stories from your experience on developing your brand, on the organization's brand, and we will try to incorporate your suggestions, your comments, your feedback at the end of the session. So, Hannah and Ramla, let me ask you, how do you think the web, internet is helping normalize the conversation about women in male roles? You can see much like has been done. So, Ramla, would you go first and speak? Maybe something on that.
Sarang, could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, there was some distortion here.
Sure, no problem. My question is, how do you see, or like how does the internet or web is helping normalizing the conversation about women and male roles? So like in engineering is considered to be a male-dominant field, and luckily women are getting into it for recent decades. So how do you see, internet playing its role or influencing the women to come into the male-dominated areas like engineering?
Absolutely, that's actually a very wonderful question. I was having a discussion a little while back with some of my teammates for Women Engineers Pakistan, and we were talking about how the concept, the idea of a female medical doctor is so normal in Pakistan because we project that image in drama serials and TV shows and films, etc. And when I go on ground in high schools and especially in underprivileged areas, every single girl in the classroom wants to become a doctor when they grow up. To the point, and that's exactly what we want to achieve for every other field as well, not just in STEM. If some girl wants to become a wildlife photographer, she should just go ahead and do that. It's about having role models in there. For Pakistan, we're trying to get, so Women Engineers Pakistan basically did a nominate your role model month, where we're trying to get more and more women, Pakistani women, relatable women role models for young girls who could present their stories, so that young girls who are sitting in classrooms back in Pakistan can actually relate to them, to their examples, and seek inspiration from such examples. So internet is one of the greatest tools that we're using for not just accessing these women role models, but also accessing our local masses, our target groups. And it's so amazing that you can have so much information online. So many times I get emails from girls who are about to select a career path. So they're just graduated high school and they want to know which field exactly is suitable for girls. And then I go down that path and explain to them that, oh, you could be a fighter pilot if you want. And then I give them examples. And those examples I know of because of the internet. So it's all about creating that access, creating that equality of access, and getting women to jump past the digital gender divide is now where we are working at as well.
Thank you, Ramla. Hannah, would you want to go first and speak on the topic of how web is normalizing the women's role in the male-dominant areas?
So I think one of my favorite movements that happened a couple of years ago was the hashtag I look like an engineer, where there were women sharing their picture and their role in engineering or in general STEM roles, to try and get more faces of women out there to show that there are women who do engineering. And there's quite a few of us. I mean, especially some of the countries you go to. So we're quite an international company. And one of my old supervisors is originally from Venezuela. And she said to me, she can't believe how much of an issue there is in the UK with not many women taking up engineering. She said there it's almost 50-50. So it's really great to have movements like this and have social media, because you can kind of share how it's different in different cultures and how there are places where there are lots of women engineers for you to look up to and admire and to help you get through there. I don't think I've met one female engineer or anyone who works in STEM that hasn't wanted to help more women get into that role too, or understand more about it. They're, you know, we're all there to help each other. But I think the other important thing is, as well as promoting women, is promoting men that support women. I think sometimes that helps with, especially with guys getting across, you know, seeing other guys help us get into the industry. I mean, whenever we run events, we try and make sure that we have a mix of volunteers there. So it's not just all women or it's not just all men, to just show that it is for everyone.
Just branching off from what Hannah just said, that's actually such a wonderful point that you made. So for Women Engineers Pakistan, we have this compulsion that every campus chapter needs to have a minimum of 40% male participation. A lot of boys then tell me that people make fun of them, that they're associated with Women Engineers Pakistan. And that's what I always say, that it's a two-way street, right? Not just are you going to a high school and showing young girls the green signal that it's fine, you can become an engineer, you can become a scientist, but you're also opening your mind so that when you graduate and start working at a STEM firm, you are more open to women being there. It's just an excellent way to get two achievements out of one job.
Yeah, perfect. You know, Hannah, you just made a good comment on, you know, we have to empower men to empower women again. And speaking of the Ramla's initiative, this is how I came into contact with Ramla, because, you know, as she says, you know, Women in Engineers Pakistan even requires men. And I really admire, you know, so yes, yeah, you know, again, one of the women in the STEM areas that I admire and follow is again Ramla. And you know, this is what I wanted to mention. By the way, guys, I'm going to share some of my stories. Maybe it can go a bit off topic, but as Ramla said, you know, so countries like Pakistan and India and all those countries, there's a misconception that if there's a female, she, you know, if you have a child who's a female, she'll become a doctor because her parents want her to be a doctor at the very default. And if you have a child born as a boy, you'll become an engineer when he grows up. So what happens when you grow up? You first become an engineer or a doctor. You do that, you know, you go through all that troubles and all that struggle, and after that, you decide what you really wanted to do in your life. You know, so this happened with me. Although, you know, I wanted to be something which is quite different. I wanted to be an actor. I still want to be one, but somehow, you know, my society, my family, since I was a boy, they wanted me to be an engineer. I became one, and I'm a proud engineer right now. So again, you know, you can even tweet on hashtag Be Wednesday, that is WIE Wednesday, and even tell me if I can become an actor. You know, please tell me. You know. By the way, progressing to the topic, Ramla and Hannah, do you think you know, any community spaces where women can volunteer, any opportunities like that? You know, can you share any opportunity, any conference, any event, any association, organization, something like that, where you have been volunteering? Before you guys go on, let me also reintroduce myself. I forgot to add this part in my introduction. You know, the you know, my motivation to be into IEEE V came through the V chair Nita Patel, who is like, you know, one of the influential women in IEEE, and she selected me, you know, along with her committee, into this IEEE V ILC conference, which happens each year. So ILC is an acronym for International Leadership Conference. This year it's happening on 21 and 22 May on San Jose Convention Center. This is, you know, where I really volunteer in terms of you know, encouraging women and empowering women to come into, you know, technology fields. So Hannah, I would like to go with you first. Can you tell any community spaces, any conferences which you personally, you know, volunteer, or you would suggest participants to volunteer?
Yeah, I can name some for the UK. So we have a Women in Engineering Society, we have a Women in Science and Engineering Society, and then you obviously have each engineering disciplines union, so the IET and that. A lot of them run events and they'll post them online. they'll often use social media to try and get volunteers. That's how I did, especially at uni. That's how I got involved in quite a lot of things. I helped run quite a few events, especially for the IET, which was great because it helped me make quite a lot of contacts for when it came to the working world. But also, it was just a really great way to meet more engineers, especially at uni, because at uni you only meet engineers at your age. You're only meeting others that are studying. So it's really, really great to be part of those events and get involved. And I definitely would encourage it. There's some great communities. And also recently I got to participate with the Discovery. If anyone's ever checked that out, I would definitely recommend go checking it out. And I got to help them on one of their webinars during March. So I definitely think there's plenty of spaces, and there's new people creating new spaces all the time. And if it's something you're really passionate about, kind of like Ramla, you can just go create your own space. And I can tell you people will definitely come and join.
Thank you. And Ramla, where do you want to go?
Thank you, Hannah. Yeah, we also, so Women Engineers Pakistan, or WEP as we call it, is also it also accesses volunteers and members via social media. So it's in entirety, it's a brand of women in STEM fields. But a bit of word from us, there's Society of Women Engineers in the US, who access volunteers through social media, but also through email listservs as well. So they have access to, or they have chapters and campuses across the country, and they have access to listservs there. There's also lots of other community volunteering spaces. I know one called STEM for Western New York, where they go into schools and just play with young children with project-based approach and just learn coding while they're having fun. So it's a very subtle way of introducing not just coding, but also dispelling the fear of math and physics that gets associated right around grade 8 with girls. And when they see that it's nothing to be really scared of, because it's being taught in fun and games, is when they actually have good approach towards engineering and STEM fields. And like Hannah said, I myself haven't really met a single woman who didn't want to volunteer to get more women involved as well. So it's just absolutely wonderful to have access to all these amazing people online.
Thank you, Ramla. Thank you, Hannah. I think we are doing good with the conversing and justifying the topic. By the way, there's a couple of the, a couple of thoughts on the safety and security on the web. So, I mean, not just for women, even for men, it can happen also. So, Ramla and Hannah, what do you guys think? Since we share much of this stuff on our social media, we use internet to promote ourselves, and we share content, we share pictures, we share such like that. Do you think it does happen that sometimes cyberbullying and the general security issues they get quite a hold of you, and it becomes hard, really hard to decide what kind of content, or like how much of content can be shared with people on the web, and what kind of content cannot be shared with people on the net. Hannah, do you have any personal story with how to cope up with cyberbullying and how to cope up with with the general security issues if they arise for women when they're using social media to promote themselves or their organization?
So I mean, I've heard of lots of women that had really quite a big problem with cyberbullying, unfortunately, or trolling as sometimes it's named. A lot of the people I find that get quite a lot of the abuse are actually more health influencers, which I still think is really important. But one, if you want to check them out, her name's Chessie King, Chessie King. She actually recently did a video where she's a fitness influencer, health and fitness, and I really love following her. She's really inspirational for me anyway. But she gets a lot of hate messages. And so what she did is that they got a team along with our cyberbullying charity in the UK, and they had people adapt her picture using Photoshop to match what the trolls were saying. And then she showed the final image, and you could just see it didn't look anything like her. It looked very strange and weird. And I think it just had a really good impact to show if she listened to all of these people that were sending these horrible messages to her, it, you know, is really going to have quite a big effect on her mental health. And I think what you share online is really important. So she chooses to share a lot of her life. Like, I mean, I highly encourage anyone to follow health influencers, because I think it's really important to your career to make sure you have good physical and mental health. I personally am a mental health ambassador, so I personally suffer with a couple of mental health issues. So it's really important to me to be able to connect with people, especially on days I maybe can't leave the house. There are people that help me. I live on my own, so I don't have anyone else to help me. So it's really important to me. But one of their top tips I learned from them is about sharing your location. I wouldn't ever share my location on social media whilst I was still in that location, especially if you're someone who has a lot of followers, just for your own safety. I think it's really important, like, not to share things like the location of your home. But if you're going to go out, just wait a few hours until you've left the place, and then I think share the location. I think that's probably one of the best tips I've been given.
Absolutely. Ramla, do you want to share something on that?
Absolutely. There's a huge movement going on to make the internet a safer space for women and girls, especially back home in Pakistan. We do not have as much, like I said, there's a huge gender gap, not just in STEM, but also in access to the internet. A lot of girls that I work with remotely use social media via their parents' profiles. The problem being that they're not being allowed access to. Reason being that, yes, there's a huge cybercrime, trolling, all of these things that happen online, and young girls are very vulnerable to it because they never were really taught how to deal with all of these things, how to not share their photos without privacy, for example, how, like Hannah mentioned, how to not maybe live share your location. But then again, there's also positive things that come out of this. Recently, there's a lawyer in Pakistan called Nigat Dutt, and she started a cyber crime hotline where it's all about reclaiming the internet as a safe space for everybody. So that hotline actually not just only provides legal advice about what to do, they also provide counseling, they also provide different support groups, access to different support groups, like-minded women for for anybody who's a victim of cybercrime to talk to, and all of this happens online. So once again, where there's bad things happening, there's always something that you can make good out of that as well.
Actually, can I just comment on that? I just think you made a really, really good point. And I just think it's really important to point out to anyone that maybe is suffering from cyberbullying that it's not on you, that there is nothing wrong with you. It's the person that feels the need to share that comment. And I really hope that no one ever feels, or, try and not let it ever get to you should it happen. And like Ramla was saying, try and find those communities that are there to support you and report it.
Great, guys. So it's time for the Q&A sessions. But before I move forward to the Q&A, Ramla and Hannah, are we missing something? Do you guys want to add something more before we move on to the questions? Ladies, Hannah and Ramla.
So I like to say that please get in touch with the Women Engineers Pakistan. We need your support, we need your help, we need your ideas, both on ground and online. I'll use this media platform to give a huge shout out to everybody back in Pakistan and across the world, and especially IEEE Women in Engineering for being a voice for women who are actively working to progress more women in STEM fields. For Women Engineers Pakistan, that's exactly our Facebook name, and for Twitter, it's our Twitter handle is women_ENGRS_PK. Please do get in touch with us. We definitely need your support and ideas.
Yeah, so I just want to also quickly say thank you to you guys. It's been really lovely getting to know and and chat to you, and to the IEEE for creating this event. It's been a really nice platform to chat to you. Yeah, if you have any questions for me, you can contact me at H and then my surname Schaapkens, which is SCHAAPKENS. That's the same for Twitter and Instagram, and you can just find me on LinkedIn as Hannah Schaapkens. If you've got any questions, I am more than happy to answer them, or to send you any of the information that I've spoken about today, about the trolling video, about people I follow. Just drop me a message.
Wonderful. You know, for me, it's much easy. You can just write, "This is Sarang." You can use it. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Quora, anywhere you go. You just have to write, "This is Sarang," and this is the easiest way you can find me. You can let me know your questions. Anyway, I can help you with your career, with your with your goals, with your ideas. So, guys, we do have one question at this moment. And by the way, before I move on to the question, I again want to repeat: please participate into the conversation and let us know that you are present and you like the conversation. It can be even a suggestion, it can be a feedback, comment, question. You can even share a personal story of you. You can tell us by tweeting us on the hashtag #WeManage. Again, we is WIE, and on the YouTube live chat. So Hannah and Ramla, we do have one question, and I'm gonna speak that for you. The question is, how can the employed and in-field men and women help and support young engineers? Yeah. Okay. So which one of you want to go first and answer the question? Hannah, go on.
So we obviously at Fluor, we're an engineering, procurement and construction company. So we have quite a lot of people that are in the field who provide us just as much support as those that are in the office. One thing we really like to do is people who have been to the field, to get them in to chat to young kids and that about their experiences in the field, especially women. I think especially like some of the construction sites are seen as quite a male dominated area. So it's really, really great when we have women that have been on site and they can come in and talk about their experiences and kind of explain that they did have a great time and it was fine and it wasn't really an issue. So, I mean, I know some sites you can't really share on social media. You're not really allowed some of the equipment that you would use. So we often don't have mobile phones. They're not always protected well enough to be used on site. But I mean, if you are, I would encourage you to use social media and use some of the hashtags that you find, like STEM, women in engineering. You'll find them on social media everywhere. But also, yeah, go back to your company, do you guys anything in schools locally, and just get involved.
Yeah, I guess this is the short summary. Get involved. So Ramla, do you want to share something on the question?
Absolutely, exactly what Hannah said, get involved, but not just be a silent supporter, especially for men. We need your advocacy as well. We totally appreciate that you support us, but please don't be silent. Please step in and talk about it as well. It's for the betterment of everybody. It's not just about women. So yeah, and women, I know a lot of women who do a lot of outreach and support back to their own schools from where they graduated. So yeah, maybe men as well can get engaged and get involved in reaching out to younger students, helping them, giving them more ideas, giving them a taste of what's actually going on in the field. One thing I did notice was that a lot of people working in the field tend to get a little bit sad about the state of affairs, maybe, and they often try to discourage people who are younger or who are just about to enter. And that leaves a great mark on younger engineers, because then they're dejected from the get-go. Please don't do that. the world is constantly changing. There's all sorts of opportunities that are available for people who want to make the most of them. And sure, there are difficult times for everybody, but if we start discouraging each other, it's not going to help. So it's all about creating that high value network of empowerment for not just women, but for everybody involved in there.
Actually, can I just add on to that? Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's human nature to just mention the things that are bothering you or annoying you about something, and you kind of forget to remind people about all the really awesome stuff you do all the time. So yeah, I would really highly encourage you to share the good things that happen. You know, I have some friends of mine who really they say it's really annoying that people keep sharing that, you know, they've done this one thing on, you know, they've gone out of the house and done this. And I mean, for someone like me, actually, that's quite a big achievement for me sometimes to just leave the house. But with engineering, like whatever you're doing is great, and people want to hear about that. Just, you know, remember to share the positives and not just the negatives. You see that a lot, I think, on the internet, a lot of things that have gone wrong or, you know, bad things that have happened to people. But I think it's really important that we all share the positives. So thanks for making that point.
Okay, Ramla and Hannah, this was just the question that we got from participants. We are about to conclude, but before I conclude, I will, would like to bring on your input on one question, and I request you to be very short, very specific, and if you want, I can begin with the response. Let's say if there's a one high school, a girl who wants to pursue a career in the technology, in the science, what suggestion would you like to give to that individual? I mean, I'm just assuming to be a high school, even someone at the age of 50 can become a technologist. So yeah, so just forget that. Let's say if some woman wants to get involved into a tech, doesn't matter if she's in high school or she's a senior guy. What suggestion would you want her to follow to pursue her career into technology? So Ramla, Hannah, which one do you want to go first? Ramla, go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing that I always tell the girls to whom I go for outreach is that do not be scared of breaking things. Do not be scared of taking things apart and then joining them back together. Do not be scared of hitting the wrong button on a program that you're working on. We need to get girls to stop being so afraid of taking risks, and that's how learning is. You have to be able to fail in order to learn something. We need to so there's a TED talk that Reshma Sajani herself gave, talking about how we need to teach young girls to fail. We don't need to teach them to be perfect. We need to teach them to be able to fail. And I would say the absolute same thing for that holds true for everybody who wants to involve in STEM, but particularly so for young girls, because as we are as a society, we are not really very lax for women to make mistakes, which is why we need to start thinking on those angles as well. Yeah, get your hands dirty.
I love that. Get your hands dirty. No, so I actually, following on from your point, I wrote a blog for work about fear and how people are afraid to make a mistake because, especially, you're kind of brought up that way. You go to school, right? You're going through doing your classes, doing your tests, and everyone wants you to do really, really well. But if you start doing really, really well, then all your friends start making fun of you because you're the clever person in the class. But if you do really badly, your parents are like getting really angry because you're not getting good grades. So no matter which way you go, someone's making fun of you or not happy. And I think that's the thing is you just got to be you. Like, if that's what you want to do, just go do it. There are loads of people that told me I couldn't be an engineer. So I did a dual degree. I did electrical engineering and German. And the guy who was studying with me, they said, yeah, fine. Yeah, he'll be able to do that, no problem. But the lady, who was a woman, told me I couldn't do it. And I obviously went and did it anyway, because that's really, really what I wanted to do. And if I failed at it, I failed at it. But that was my choice and it was no one else's. And, if there's something you really want to do, if you want to get into technology, reach out to people like us. All three of us would obviously happily support you. Anyone at the IEEE would support you. Any of the places we've mentioned would. And we're here to support you to reach that goal. And if that's what you want, just do it. Just go do it.
Okay, Hannah, Ramla, David, and all the participants, thank you so much for joining me today, and everybody. And it has been such a great conversation, I must say. And before we sign off, I would like to ask everyone to keep the conversation going on social media. Use the hashtag, that is again hash V Wednesday WIE. You can follow us on Twitter, that is at the rate of VILC, again WIEILC. Also, thank you again to our virtual track sponsor, Ericsson. Don't forget to sign up for the next session, that is on May 16th. That's again next Wednesday. And that will be our final session before the main show, the main event happens in San Jose. So the next session will feature the IEEE VLC chair Neeta Patel and IEEE VLC program lead Shana Papin. They'll tell everyone who is attending the conference in San Jose what you need to know before you go there, do's and don'ts. It should be very useful and informative conversation for all of you, prospective conference attendees out there, all those who are considering to attend the conference. So for more information on how to sign up, please visit the IEEE VILC conference website. That's pretty much simple. You can go to Google and write IEEE VILC, and it will write you to the main website. So have a great day, guys, everyone. And before I even sign out, Ramla and Hannah, would you still want to say something? If not, you can just wave your hand and we'll say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for letting us speak and put forward our ideas. It's extremely encouraging to have allies in everything that we do. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Sarang, for running this session for us and helping keep this conversation going. We really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for letting me participate. It's been really, really fun chatting to all of you.
Thank you, Ramla. Thank you, Hannah. And thank you, David. See you, everybody, next week.